Well, welcome everybody to BATHICA Banter, and people, I could not be more excited about this episode because it's the first time we actually have our guest in studio, and I'm also very excited about our guest.
Give me a fist bump just to prove that we're actually physically.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, this is not split screen. We are actually physically here, and thrilled about our guest today, Mr. Bruce Passmore, who is the Region Manager HVACR Canada East for EMCO. And Bruce, thanks for joining us.
Gerry, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so cool that you're here. You actually taken a motorcycle ride, and we were a stop off.
I would say the destination. The rest of it's just peripheral.
Okay. Very, very cool. Hey, Bruce, I like to start every interview having our guest kind of explain their journey. What got you to your point where you're at right now?
Wow.
It's a loaded question.
You know, it was a lot easier for the Joannas and the Devs of the world because they're not as old. Their journey wasn't as long. So I went to the University of Waterloo and studied biology. My dad was an optometrist, and there was kind of an expectation that I would take up the family trade and maybe take over the family business. And it turned out I didn't really have any interest in the sciences or optometry. But I graduated with a degree in biology and was home for about 3 days. And my cousin, my second cousin, my dad's cousin, was the super on a job site. We were building condominiums. And he said, "What are you doing for the summer?" I said, "I don't know yet." And the next day I was carrying mechanical joint cast iron pipe upstairs as a plumbing helper.
Wow.
I did that for 2 or 3 months and became an apprentice, and went to trade school and moved down to Southern Ontario. I moved to Kitchener-Waterloo again. And it was a really neat journey. It was in a period when the construction industry was pretty slow. It was in the early 2000s, 2001. And I knew that in order to keep working and to keep my apprenticeship alive, I needed to add to my skill set. So I went to Conestoga College and I got my gas fitter 2 license. And then, through a set of circumstances, got an apprenticeship job in KW. And then I moved to Coburg. My girlfriend, soon to be wife at the time, was on a career track. So I was following her. And the nice thing about the trades is they're necessary in every market. Yeah, right. If you have a really defined skill set, there might be a very narrow scope of where you fit in. But as a trades apprentice, I was able to get another job in the next city. So I moved to Coburg, Ontario, and Port Hope, and I was in the business of working for an HVAC contractor that had a hearth business, and there was some natural gas expansion going on in the area. So we're going great guns. Despite a tough economic time, there was lots of work for people in that scope. So at the same time, I went back to school and I took my ODP for ozone depletion course to allow me to install residential air conditioning. And I took basic electric at Durham College. And I just was always, every chance I could get, I went back to school and I studied something new. And at the time, it was all trade related. So, I did a bunch of little things and ended up working for the Ministry of Environment and Energy for 2 years as a home inspector in the Green Communities Initiative, and the first energy efficiency sort of program for retrofit. And we would do an inspection of a house and then prescribe energy efficient options and then provide some funding for it. So I did that for 2 years, and the funding ran out as government programs are wont to do. And then I ended up working for an agent that represented applied goods, PVI fire tube boilers and Van Packer chimney and exhaust systems, and the company Westmec Technical Sales. Allowed me to open a regional office in Ottawa. I was a whole 24-year-old kid, and I was entrusted to open up a regional office. And the National Capital Region, the Ottawa area, is a 1.5 million person market. So suddenly there I was calling on mechanical engineers through Gatineau and Ottawa and Cornwall and Kingston and getting specifications, and that was a great adventure. Did that for 5 or 6 years, And then I ended up working for Venmar Ventilation for the manufacturing segment. It was a great gig for another 5 or 6 years. And then my biggest customer, McHugh Supply, hired me.
Oh, okay. So that's where it begins.
That's where the wholesale journey
Yeah.
begins. That was 2005. I remember it was in April. I remember specifically my first interview. I drove down and got a speeding ticket on the way to the interview. It must have been pretty excited to get there. But
you couldn't talk the cop out of it, huh?
I couldn't. It was I said, give me the ticket. I don't have time. I don't need the speech. Just give me the ticket.
Right.
So yeah, and in the course of all that, in 1998, I went back to school as a 28-year-old and got my MBA while I was working for Venmar, and really kind of broadened my horizons from the sales focus and this tech focus that I'd always had into a more general management focus. So I learned about HR law, and I learned about finance and accounting, and decision-making models, and human behavior. It was a really cool, eye-opening thing. So when I ended up as a general manager at McHugh Supply, it really allowed me to flex all of my skill sets, from the technical to the distribution and manufacturing process to all of the general management stuff. So it was an exciting journey. It never boring.
Very, very cool. I didn't realize you had such a hands-on background as well. So you have seen all avenues of HVACR for sure.
Yeah, I joke that I hit for the cycle because I've worked for a contractor, I've worked for a manufacturer, I've worked for an agent, and I've worked for a wholesaler. So that's pretty much the whole supply chain. So
yeah, you've covered all the bases for sure. And I think that's what gives you the foundation that is so valuable in your career now, for sure, right? You can appreciate and understand where people who work for you now are coming from.
The people I work with, I understand some of my contractors' challenges, our customers' challenges, and I understand some of our manufacturers' challenges and our agents' challenges. And it's really given me, scope to help come up with solutions, to provide a little bit of value, because you've got a broader scope, maybe a less selfish scope, because you've got some exposure to what troubles them daily.
No doubt. Well, Bruce, you work for EMCO. EMCO, from my perspective, is an iconic HVACR distributor throughout Canada, not just HVACR, as I'm learning as well, plumbing and waterworks and what have you. But can you give us some background with EMCO, some company history, if you would?
I love that to you it's an HVACR company, and I love that to a lot of our partners, manufacturers, agents, contractors, that it's an HVACR company, because historically it's not. I mean, founded, it's 1906 is when it was opened as a manufacturing company in London, Ontario. EMCO stands for Empire Manufacturing Corporation.
Oh, okay.
So some proud British person decided to name it after the British Empire, and
nice.
All of our early logos were British Bulldogs and Union Jacks. So. But we started off as a company that forged malleable steel and brass and made valves, and broadened into pumps, and like a very plumbing oriented history, and went through many incarnations, privately held and then publicly traded, and then owned by the Masco Group for a little while. And then in 2003, I believe, we were purchased by Hajoca and the Blackfriar Group. So we were introduced to the Blackfriar magic. I call it Black Magic. The business model that came from the Colburn family, and from their experience with electrical distribution, Consolidated Electrical Distribution, CED, is actually a bigger company than the Hajoca EMCO mechanical side. But the model's been the same since 1952. It's, when they were expanding their empire in the electrical side, they recognized that the hardest competitor to fight with every market was the local distributor, the local family-owned distributor, connected to the community, able to make great decisions very quickly. in tune with their customers and in partnership with their customers. There was only one table at the casino, so you had to do well at that table.
Right.
So they created this model where the PCM is the hero of the business, and the PC is the heart of the business. It's very focused on empowering this decentralized environment, and then giving them the resources to live into their own dream and to make all the great decisions locally to really benefit their customers and benefit their market. And then, they tied it all together with a really strong changing lives through sharing success, a profit sharing model that's substantial, but really creates an ownership buy-in environment. And from the PCM to the guy that's driving the truck, to the person that's writing the POs, to the person that's out calling on customers, to the technical sales guys that are solving problems, everybody feels like they own a bit of the company. So that came from the CED group and came from Hajoca. And when McHugh was bought in 2009 by EMCO, we were able to adopt that really quickly.
Nice. I just want to clarify for some people who may not know. I didn't know until I started doing business with EMCO. PC is Profit Center.
Correct. Sorry.
No, that's cool. And I'm fascinated with that. I love that that name. Here in the States, we tend to refer to things as branches or locations, but
branches grow on trees.
There you go. But Profit Center and Profit Center Manager, PCMs.
Yep.
Is really the perfect description of what it is.
And the key word there is center.
Right.
When you think of that branches grow on trees, EMCO joke, it's not really that funny. But what we do, each of our individual locations is the heart of the business. They're the trunk of the tree. They're not a branch. They're at the center of the decision making. They have the gravity of the business. And so the key word profit is an important word. It's sometimes taboo. I mean, a lot of people don't want to know that you're making too much profit, or that you're profiting off of them. That has a negative connotation. But really, that idea that each business is its own center, its own business, is really important. It creates a different environment.
I've always described the PCM, the managers, as really being as close to business owners without actually putting skin into the game, so to speak. They can make their own decisions. They can bring in their inventory levels. Of course, there has to be a profit at the end of the day.
Right.
But very independent. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? They do have a vested interest in the business.
Right. With the profit sharing.
With profit sharing, I mean, if they make bad decisions, they don't make any money.
Right. Right.
And worse than that, their teams don't make money. Yeah. I mean, a business is only as strong as their team, and while a team might take a calculated risk together, and it may not pay off and it may suffer in a year, the expectation is over their career they're going to have lots of profit to share.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, I talk about creating an environment of wealth creation, so sustainable wealth creation. So I don't want to get wealthy at the expense of my customers or of my vendors. I want to create a sustainable machine where we can all get, earn our value.
Yeah.
And that profit center managers and profit center teammates all have a vested interest. They do have skin in the game. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very cool. So Bruce, I'm a big LinkedIn guy. It's really the only social media that I'm actively involved with. And I see on your LinkedIn profile, as we mentioned in your introduction, your title is Region Manager HVACR Canada East. So please share with our audience what all that entails. What is Canada East? What's your geographic area? Sure. So EMCO may be the best or worst company for titles. And I say that because, when I was working for McHugh Supply prior to acquisition, I went through a couple of promotions and I was vice president and general manager. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. I got to call my mom and say, "Mom, I'm a vice president now." And she was very proud of me. And I see lots of organizations with really executive director and all these great titles. There's a humility to our culture that gives everybody a relatively subdued title. So profit center manager doesn't sound like a big thing, but we have profit center managers that are running $50 million businesses that have 50, 60, 70 people that count on them every day for their, to bring home the bread. So, in that humility, region manager is a position at EMCO that allows us to support. I work for all of the profit center managers and all of the people that work for them. So it's that upside down hierarchy where my purpose when I get up in the morning is to make sure that the PCMs and the PC teams have what they need to be successful. And I can't tell you how satisfied that makes me, because I get to watch other people shine and have success. And in doing that, I get a little bit of credit, but I really, sometimes I wonder if I deserve the credit, because I know how hard these people work, and I know what they're doing to do it.
Well, I could tell you from personal experience, dealing with many of the people who work with you, who work for you, they will go through walls for you. And that always tells me that's the sign of an extraordinary leader. And you certainly have their respect.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think respect is reciprocal.
Sure.
And I think that, I think love is reciprocal.
You know how I feel about that.
I know. So really, over the years, we established these cultures just by, demonstrating what's important. I've been very fortunate. I've had great leaders along the way, Roger Poitras and Sean Kelly and Rick Fantham, and very much the same thing. I mean, our job, again, is to support the decentralized environment of profit centers. So really, it's your service to them that makes them that reciprocal feeling of service.
Yeah, no question. Something I find interesting as well, prior to my gig with Bathica, I was with Watsco in the US with the Gree product. And with Watsco, as the corporate center goes, so does all the subsidiaries.
Right.
They fall in line. Not the case with EMCO. Again, EMCO, each of the locations, each of the profit centers, I'm still doing it, has the ability to make their own decisions as far as inventory, even product decisions.
Yeah, I mean, what can I tell you? It's been working since 1952. There aren't many businesses that have stuck to the same model for 72 years. So it works. The one thing I would tell you is we do have strategic alignment, and we do have lots of transparent conversations. So PCMs, I won't say they toe the company line, but if we collaborate on a strategic decision, there's a benefit to mass and scale.
Sure.
So, we don't have people running off, and we don't have 300 stores selling 300 different product lines.
Right.
But yeah, the beautiful thing about EMCO and Hajoca and the whole Blackfriar group, we're not publicly traded, and that takes time out of the equation. So we get to make good decisions. We don't have to make good decisions for a quarter or for a reporting month or a year, or, we don't publish our results, and there's no shareholder anxiety about immediate return and immediate gratification. So we make investments for the quarter of a century instead of the quarter. Whether we recognize success in 1 year or the next, it's still success. So we get to make great decisions, and it's really been an incredible tool.
Yeah, no question. I've seen the other side of that, again, with Watsco being a publicly traded company, completely different atmosphere. And I'm not saying necessarily a negative, just different.
Yeah,
for sure. Hey, Bruce, I know that EMCO recruits through job fairs at universities in Canada. Why would a young person who possibly maybe has yet to find their passion or their career path, why would they be advised to join EMCO? What do you think?
Well, it's a great question and a timely question. My daughter just graduated from from St. Mary's University in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Nice, congrats.
Yeah, very proud. That's she's a great girl. But so she graduated from one of the best business schools in Atlantic Canada, and was wondering what to do with the balance of her career. And I invited her to explore the management trainee program at EMCO, and really, it's an incredible opportunity. I mean, there isn't a lot of romance to the products that we sell.
Well, I always say it's not sexy.
Not sexy, not sexy, but neither are paper products or furniture or shingles or bricks or, you know, there aren't that many sexy products really when you think about it. And even the sexy products, when they're packaged up in a cardboard box and are moving around the world, really it's about the people you get to work with and the opportunities that a business present. It's about it's about a meritocracy. You know, I see things are evolving, especially in tech, that people can contribute at a very early stage in their career. And EMCO is one of those places that, despite not being in tech, I mean, we love good ideas and we love smart people.
Yeah.
And the result of that is you're able to make significant contributions to the business. You're not just going to work. You're going to impact, you know, whether or not your team is going to find that sustainable wealth creation machine. It's the collection of ideas. Yeah. So, you know, Becca's been at McLennan Waterworks in Halifax for the last 4 or 5 months, and you know, already she's presenting ideas to her PCM, and she's, you know, had the opportunity to work in the warehouse and work on the dock and really get her hands on, much like my career path, you know, like, you know, she's now carrying the pipe.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But at the same time, I mean, you've interviewed a couple of my great peers and friends, you know, Joanna and Dev and even Victor Hyman, incredible guy. I mean, these are people that have made incredible contributions to our business. Like, they look like immediate successes now. They look successful now. They've been successes since day one. I mean, Joanna was contributing to my business the first day that she showed up at McHugh Supply. Like, it's incredible. Dev as well. Like, and I look at our current crop of SDPs, MTs, everybody's got a title. I look at our crop of teammates across the board and what they bring to the table and what they contribute every day. The ideas are just incredible. It's great. I think in an autocracy, in one of those corporate cultures where the president tells the vice president what the executive director, I think you're limited to a very narrow band of good ideas.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, one of the unique things about EMCO, again, from somewhat of the outside looking in with my perspective, is how smart these young people are. It's scary sometimes for me as the old guy, because they just blow me away with how proficient they are, how poised they are at such young ages, and absolutely brilliant in many of the cases. And again, Joanna and Dev are perfect examples of that, and previous guests on this show. Yeah, just absolutely incredible. Yeah. So, Bruce, previously you mentioned the profit sharing aspect of EMCO, and I've always been incredibly fascinated about that because it does give your employees skin in the game, like you said. Can you explain in a little bit more detail how exactly that works and how it does it? And if it does, how does it trickle down to all the employees?
Yeah. So, discretion being the better part of value. I can't really, I don't want to get too deep into it. I know
understood.
but I'll give you some surface level. So what happens at the end of the year is a significant proportion of local profit goes into a pool that's administered by a profit center manager who allocates profit sharing to each of his teammates.
Okay.
And that's done through a process where first thing he does is he force ranks his team. So who contributes the most to his business? And contribution is really broad. I mean, you know, the industry sometimes will poo-poo the effectiveness of of a warehouse person. But really, you know, a warehouse person contributes immensely to the success of your
big time.
business.
Yeah.
You know, accurate receiving, accurate picking and shipping, efficiency within the warehouse, safety within the warehouse,
Yeah.
a culture of performance within the warehouse, and the interactions that they have with your customers. I mean, that's just an example. Truck drivers. I mean, who has more contact with customers than truck drivers?
No doubt. Yeah.
You know, so really the promise keepers in our business, which, you know, in many organizations are overlooked. The alphas are the managers and the directors, and then you'll have the sales reps, right? Outside sales guys, they bring home the bacon. But really, do they? You know, they do. There's no doubt. But
Yeah.
but a beautiful thing is every year and every quarter regularly, we sort of evaluate how people are contributing to the business, and it allows us to give them feedback as to how they might get better.
Sure.
And it really it creates a dynamic, an expectation, a high expectation of contribution, but you know, it rewards that. You know, when you live into it, it's been, Gerry, it's so life-changing to watch, you know, a senior teammate take home a significant profit-sharing check and change their lives. Maybe they're sending their kid to university or taking their wife to Europe for the first time, or maybe they're buying an exotic sports car.
Hey, I could appreciate that.
No doubt. But it's really impressive when you've got somebody, you know, early in their career that's worked really hard and found ways to contribute and taking home a very significant share of the profit and starting their life in an economy where kids today can't buy homes.
Yeah.
Our kids can. Our kids do.
That's cool.
You know, there's a famous EMCO story. David Arsenault, who's a plumbing PCM in Windsor, brought the RM out into the parking lot of his PC and said, "What do you notice?" This had been a lifelong struggling PC in Windsor, Ontario. And after Dave's contribution for a couple of years, you know, the PC started to perform, and he brought the RM out in the parking lot and said, "What do you notice?" Cars, new cars.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, historically they were rust buckets and people that were struggling to make ends meet, and now there were some new pickup trucks and
Brilliant.
some little sports cars, and you know, that's the ability to influence your own outcome and your ability to live into your dreams.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable.
Well, if you'll allow me, I'm going to play devil's advocate just for a moment. And again, this is because I have not experienced this type of profit sharing in my own career. I wonder, can that model cause some degree of conflict within the people at a PC? And what I mean by that is, are decisions made, possibly that would be marketing decisions, that, well, do we really need to do that? Because that's going to affect the bottom line, which is going to affect our profit sharing at the end of the year. Can it create, or does it create that atmosphere? So which not necessarily is a negative,
right? But
it could create some conflict. I'm wondering.
So one component of our business model that's really important is education. And what we do through CDL, customer driven leadership, and through a few of our other PCM 101 and 201 and 301 and future leaders meetings, you know, the secret is to do a business case and to it's not all gut. It's gut plus analysis.
Sure.
So if you come up with a great idea and you can rationalize the impact of that investment over 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, you know, the expectation is there's a return on investment, and even more so a return on effort. I mean,
right.
We got lots of cash, but we don't have lots of talented hours to invest in a lot of things. So is it the best use of our time, not just our money? So yeah, it creates healthy dialogue.
Yeah.
But if you can make a business case for any of these things, we agree that it works. And the beauty of that, Gerry, is it allows teammates in different profit centers to make different petri dish experiments. So we're going to try this. And, you know, There's a lot of tables at our casino, so if one of them struggles for a little while, that's okay.
Right.
I mean, it's not okay for that table, profit sharing pool, but it allows people to try things that we don't try on a global level, and if it's successful, we implement it in other areas. So, you know, you've been witness to the rise of InnTech, and the, you know, Comfort Owl and Joanna's business, and these all come from experiments where somebody says, hey, I want to try something a little bit different. Well, let's do a business case. That makes sense. Let's try it. And man, that's been probably my favorite part of my job. Is
I would think, yeah.
And you know, what starts off small ends up big. EMCO Applied in Atlanta, Canada was, you know, Sean Breen and I talked about building out an applied business, and he did all the work. I'm not going to take any credit for it, but and then Trevor became involved, and the whole gang in Atlanta, Canada. Well, from nothing comes now a very significant business with very significant reputation and performance, and man, all that's happened in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Like, it's remarkable.
It is amazing, and I think it's got to be so satisfying for you to see where seeds have been planted, where you witnessed nothing but a seed at one time grow into a Comfort Owl or an InnTech, or and I could go on and on.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's one of the neat things about EMCO, you know, leveraging Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sounds funny, a little psychology, but you know, we provide enough remuneration for people to handle the base level. You know, people start getting into self-actualization, and people start getting into personal development and relationship building, and it, you know, some of those successes are obvious, and they have brands and titles, and
right.
and others are, you know, people that have worked hard in their career to move from being a contributor in the warehouse to being into procurement, to being into strategic procurement, to being, you know, people that contribute to the business significantly. Like, it's really awesome, that idea that personal development pays off, and making good decision pays off. It's pretty well.
No, it's awesome, for sure. Hey, Bruce, I suspect EMCO must be one of the largest, if not the largest, and I always zero in on HVAC because that's me. But you guys must be one of the largest distributors in Canada, and of course Hajoca here in the U.S. But I wonder what your vision is for EMCO in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Where do you see the market going? Where do you see the company going?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an excellent adventure, and it develops so quickly that I don't know if I went back 5 years ago that I could have predicted where we would be now.
Right.
But looking forward, you know, I get to work for 300 super talented people. And one guy I haven't mentioned yet, Chris Newsom, the region manager for Western Canada.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about geography, and I didn't really answer the question, but not only does Chris manage Western Canada, but he contributes greatly to Eastern Canada. And he would argue, I'm sure, but I like to think that I contribute to Western Canada as well. But, you know, in working as a team, we've got a group of 500 or 600 people that have great ideas. And we talked about that. And we've got the capital to invest in those. And we've got decision-making models to do that. So as opportunities present, I'm sure that we'll take advantage of them. And you know, there's some stuff that we've been maybe lagging on when it comes to investment in e-commerce. Maybe we could have done different things. But when you think about it, lots of e-commerce companies have failed. There's been a lot of money wasted.
There has, yeah.
And we've focused our resources, and particularly our talent, on traditional wholesale and traditional relationships. But you know, I can see a lot more fulfillment through the internet. I can see AI coming into play and facilitating the development of teammates, and really helping people choose the right products, choose the right options, and to eliminate some of the errors that may happen with, you know, biological decision-making models.
Yeah, sure.
There's all kinds of neat stuff. And I think that we've looked at some vertical integration. I mean, having BATHICA join the group has been an incredible man, the opportunities just in that business unit are off the chart, right?
Well, I wanted to go there. So acquisitions are obviously an obvious way to grow.
Right.
And EMCO does do that from time to time. Bathica, the most recent example of that.
Actually, we've had a couple since. So
Oh,
if
wow.
you can believe it, but in different divisions, right? We've and yeah, it's absolutely. We're there's three areas where you can grow. You can grow greenfield, where you open new business units in territories that are not served or underserved. You can make acquisitions, and then there's organic growth within your organizations by expanding scope. So share of wallet, share of market, these things. So you can grow three different ways. And historically, we've been very strategic about acquisitions. Again, it's not just the cost of capital in an acquisition that counts. It's the limited resource of expertise and attention that very talented people need to place in an acquisition to make it happen well. We weigh all of these things when we're making acquisitions. So, if an opportunity pops, it's been great. And I mean, man, coming from an acquisition, I'll take you on a funny side journey. EMCO bought McHugh Supply, and in the first 3 months, I was not that impressed.
Okay.
I think I was brainwashed a little bit by our own, McHugh Supply original culture, and I never worked well with other people or for other people. I worked well with other people, but not for other people. And so, after a 3-month window, I had a contract that had a little bit of a parachute in it. And I thought, you know what, this has worked for me. I'm going to go find another independent where I can be a vice president and not a, bumbling manager. So I ended up resigning, trying to deploy the parachute. And I ended up in front of Rick Fantham. And Rick said, you got to give us a chance. What if I just guarantee that isn't limited by the first quarter or 3 months, and you gave us a shot, and man, oh man, that conversation changed my life.
I was going to say, boy, that's a life-changing moment there.
It absolutely was. I mean, I very shortly after that, I got on an airplane and I went down to see Angelo Valenti, who was a industrial psychologist that was on contract to us to evaluate talent, and Angelo apparently thought I had what it took. And then I went to Hajoca. I went to Ardmore, Pennsylvania, to Villanova University to take PCM 101 with a group of young rock star Hajoca PCMs. And man, my mind just opened up into this, oh my God, look at what's possible.
Yeah.
As opposed to being closed, this isn't what we were doing before. And I brought that home. And I had a little bit of influence with the rest of my teammates. I wrote a Jerry Maguire email that's still floating around, and really it just really created an opportunity. Now everybody embraced what EMCO and Hajoca were selling.
Sure.
I embraced it probably first, and then they all went, okay, if he believes, we'll give it a shot. Man, that's just gone crazy.
Yeah.
So. I guess the point of the story is when you make an acquisition and people fully embrace what's possible within the model and the resources available within the model, man, just unbelievable.
Well, I guess I can speak firsthand to this, being a member of Bathica and you guys, EMCO purchasing us earlier this year. Look, you and I had private discussions about this prior to it and during the process. There's always a certain amount of fear, right?
Yeah.
Change is it could be a little scary.
Sure.
And at 63 years old, is this something I want to go through at this point in my career? But all I can say is so far it's been
not much has changed
as you've as you've described. If anything, we just have more brain power behind us in many cases. Certainly revenue available to us that prior wasn't. So far so good, to say the least.
Yeah, it's and what a great opportunity for us. I mean, the talent at Bathica, the Devin Embrys of the world, and the Naomi Trahans, and certainly Guillaume Caillet and Aboud, and there's such a wonderful group of people to integrate and teach us as distributors about how to maybe streamline and make our supply chain more effective. Man, what a smart move that was.
Yeah. One more name I will add to your list, and I could go on to add many names, but Chrissy Main. Chrissy, one of the most difficult transitions with any acquisition, I'm sure you'll agree, is the IT portion of it, right?
Oh,
the computer portion.
You guys just went through it.
We just went through it. And most of this stuff, Bruce, again, makes my brain hurt. I don't have an understanding of most of it. I don't need to on a day-to-day basis. But Chrissy, along with the EMCO, her counterparts at EMCO, made this so seamless for us. And for a guy who's, believe it or not, people think I'm very savvy with this stuff, and I'm really not, made it seamless for me. And she's just so brilliant. And we've always known that, but boy, did she really shine through that process.
We talked about meritocracy, and we talk about the brilliant people at our PCs. And I'll tell you, national support, those folks that go in there every day and make it possible for us to be successful. Chrissy on your side, but on our side, I think of our IT group and the personal investment that they made we just went through an ERP conversion. We moved to Office 365 a few years ago, and Teams and all this infrastructure, cloud-based infrastructure. It's just been unbelievable, the level of support that we get. I really truly appreciate the people at NSC every single day. And they're the help desk. They're the first people to get a complaint, right? We converted, but man, oh man, they just rise to the occasion every time. And that, even beyond the IT component, the HR component, and the folks in payroll and the folks in HRIS, Darcy Sage, the people in legal, the people in finance, the people in Cash App, the people in audit. It's really something to have a ton of confidence and a ton of optimism around head office.
Yes, yeah.
That's why we call it national support and not head office. But boy, these people are just incredible and make our lives so much better and easier. It's remarkable.
That's really, really cool. Hey, Bruce, something that has always impressed me, and kind of staying on the same topic of people at EMCO, something that has always fascinated me and impressed me is the diversity within the company. I have met more people in my years dealing with EMCO from so many different parts of the world, so many different backgrounds, all working at EMCO. And I've often wondered, is that a conscious program within EMCO diversity, I'm saying, or did that just kind of happen organically? What do you think?
Man, it's such a remarkable culture. Maybe it wasn't consciously, but maybe it wasn't not subconsciously.
Right.
We tend to hire people who look and look like we look and talk like we talk.
Yeah.
It's a natural position to be in. But really what EMCO's done for the last 15 years is hire the best people that they can. And we really screen for, that you've heard our SWAN acronym, smart, works hard, ambitious, nice. Everybody uses it, but the non-negotiable, all of it's kind of non-negotiable, but the nice part is really, really the most critical element to me. You have to be a great teammate.
Yeah.
Because we really focus on effective teams. Now the works hard is a non-negotiable, because in the profit sharing model, really, if you can get more done with fewer people, not only do you make more profit, but there's fewer people to split that profit sharing pool with. So, we have bands of KPIs that kind of guide PCMs into expansion of their teams and things like that. But but oh my goodness gracious, like just the people that find us and the people that we find are incredible. So there's three ways that we really come up with teammates. So the first one, you know, we do university job fairs, and we do get in front of new grads. It's a really critical part, and that's where folks like Dev and Joanna,
Yeah,
you know, and Rebecca come from. We get in front of headhunters, and we work with a number of recruiting companies across Canada, but not with specific hires typically. It's kind of an open mandate where they understand what we're looking for in smart, works hard, ambitious, and nice. And they've seen which of their placements have become successful, and they can kind of model what it looks like. So we'll get a phone call out of the blue. I've got a candidate for Windsor or, you know, Halifax, Nova Scotia. And you know, we do a series of interviews, and it fits or it doesn't. And then the third one is probably my favorite, and people that really believe in EMCO find people who could really believe in EMCO. People in their sphere of influence that they've admired or that they respect or feel that if I add this A player to my team, it's going to really benefit my team. So I'd say that, you know, the split of how we come up with these people is a third. And when you look at our really diverse environments, it's because people aren't looking for a stereotype. They're looking for a skill set and a spirit.
Right.
Man, I'll tell you, it's probably my favorite thing about EMCO is just all the different ideas coming from all the different backgrounds and all the different places. And we were talking this morning, you know, like historically we were really honed in on the university channel. And we've expanded that. I mean, a Red Seal trade is the equivalent of a university degree. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
And somebody that's worked inside a company for 5 years and had a series of promotions and contributes in a tremendous way, that's the equivalent of a university degree to me.
Sure.
What we're looking for is people who are smart and work hard and are ambitious and are nice, but people that are sticking to things, that can overcome that adversity and not turn tail and run when it gets challenging out there, right? You know, the reason why universities are a great pool to draw from is because there's a challenge. There's a temptation in every university student's career to leave university.
Right.
Because it's hard.
Right. But some of your employees, again, going back to the diversity aspect
we don't have
of
employees, Gerry. We have teammates.
Okay, some of your teammates have literally escaped war zones.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could go on and on. So talk about someone who has stuck to something and conquered, and you know, I think those are perfect examples of that.
Man, like we've got great teammates that have joined us during the recent conflict in Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know, that have fled to Canada as refugees.
Yeah.
We've had people that have escaped from war zones in Africa and contributed greatly. And not everybody stays forever. So I've got an amazing list of teammates that I've worked with that I really appreciate, that have gone on to other opportunities. And no hard feelings. I check in on them and they check in on me, and we take care of each other after the fact. But man, it's remarkable. It's remarkable what people have overcome to get here.
One of those people is Victor Hyman, a previous guest on this program. And I've often wondered why anybody would leave EMCO, quite frankly. But again, like in Victor's situation, his opportunity and what he's done with climate comfort or comfort climate, that
Climate Care Group,
Climate Care Group, a cooperative of contractors in the GTA, just fascinating. Has taken that to a whole new level, but he always credits his background and what he learned at EMCO.
And I would credit him for the seeds that he's planted at EMCO and the contributions he made along the way to really make us a better company and to make me a better person. I mean, it's funny. We talk about, how all these people contribute to our business and potentially contribute to our long-term wealth and all that stuff. But man, these people have made me a better person, and they've given me perspective. And it's really, you don't learn anything until you go places that you've never been, or you talk to people that aren't like you, or people that have a different perspective. And it's easy to judge. I can't remember which psychologist said thinking is hard, and that's why people judge. So Victor's had an incredible mark on my life, and Mo Abo, who was another guy that worked with us and with Victor, just a wonderful human and a great guy.
Yes.
And sometimes there's happenstance to these things. I mean, economic conditions or a business unit or a change in technology or whatever. So people leave for different reasons, and bless them all if they can find a better opportunity, or if they're caught in a trap, or they can't leave a market and they can't get promoted anymore, or we'll all succeed.
Right.
And I want everybody to be satisfied and reach that fulfillment that they're looking for. If they stay, great. And if they leave and have success and have happiness, great.
Yeah. I want to go back to the SWAN acronym, and the N is nice.
Yep.
I've often thought that the N, the nice, is sometimes the hardest part. And I use myself as the example of that. It reminds me that we need to be nice, right? Because sometimes it's easy just to be demanding. I expect a lot of myself, so I expect a lot of others around me, and I recognize that, and that could make me a little sharp-edged. I'll just leave it at that from time to time. And the acronym of SWAN, it does remind me. It's helpful. It may sound silly to people, but I don't care. It does just make you conscious of, what, buddy, why don't you step back a second and rethink this and be nice.
It's okay to have high expectations. We all have very high expectations. It's okay to it's okay to have an appetite for success and have an incredible work ethic. And I think most of the people that work with us do. But what's not a negotiable is to inflict any additional stress or any damage to people. We were talking this morning about context and nonverbal communication and writing emails versus talking to somebody firsthand.
Right.
And having a conversation with them in the room being the most powerful thing. It really, I think the best teams and the most successful teams at EMCO and I think about Moncton right now. This is a team that was totally underperforming in 2018, and it was in a plumbing location, and everybody didn't know what was going on. And Matthew Willett created a culture of high expectation, but of affirmation as well. So there was an incredible expectation of investment and contribution and personal investment, but there was a ton of affirmation. We were playing with Daisy yesterday or this morning, and Daisy the dog was showing us all of her tricks. Those tricks are hard for Daisy.
Yeah.
She's not exactly a model.
No, she's not agile.
But man, she does it because she gets a treat, but she does it because it pleases you and it pleases her.
Yeah. Sure.
Not comparing our teammates to dogs, but I think that part of that nice thing is the affirmation and the thank yous that you get, and the appreciation and the recognition of your contribution. And I think, one of the challenges we talked about NSC, I think it's really important that we all keep in mind that those people at NSC need a little bit of love, because, they're when your job is to take calls of things that are going wrong, that can be a real drag.
Yeah, no question.
So, take the time to say thank you. Take the time to make somebody's day.
Yeah.
It's so important, and it's so much more effective. You think of, I often talk about scale and creating scale can, one person can contribute 1x. But if you can make everybody around you 10% more effective, and then that's 10 people or 20 people, you're contributing 2 or 3 or 4x. And that only comes through influence. It doesn't come through cracking the whip. Doesn't get anybody to work harder.
Right. No question. Another thing I wanted to go back on, you had mentioned about recruiting, and oftentimes your present employees are the best recruiters.
We don't have employees, Gerry. We have teammates.
I'll get this right before we end. Your teammates oftentimes are your best recruiters because they know other people who are brilliant and will fit. And in Bathica, that's Devon Embry. Dev.
Yep.
His wife is now working at Bathica, which is a beautiful thing. He brought Chrissy Main into the fold. Oftentimes these brilliant people know other brilliant people.
And what I love about internal recruiting and about teammates bringing in teammates, and you think about Devon bringing his wife in, would he have brought her in if it was a crude workplace or a difficult workplace, exactly, or a stressful workplace? Or so there's that component. They bring in, it's a compliment that they're inviting in people that they care about, but they're also a little bit selfish, and they're thinking, how does this person contribute to the business? There is a high expectation, but absolutely, I mean, Waterloo PC318 is a product of probably, of all their teammates, 80% are probably people that have been recruited by teammates. Hey, I've got a friend that is an incredible person and has an incredible skill set, and let's have a conversation. And it's challenging. I mean, to the conversations you and I have had, our base comp is like median. It's the middle of the field. And can you get a job that pays more base than EMCO in the wholesale world? Absolutely. Can you make more money total than you can with EMCO? Probably not.
Right.
In fact, I know you can't. But that comes with performance, and it comes with high expectation. So, everybody, it's like a hockey team. You're trying to draft that best player, because if you're a second liner and you can find a great first liner, you can win a Stanley Cup. You can win a Calder Cup, like the Hershey Bears did.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very cool. Yeah. Well, look, Bruce, Joanna Wu of Comfort Owl was a recent guest on BATHICA Banter. Can you tell our audience how EMCO developed a separate company, and that being Comfort Owl, to offer finance options to your customers being HVACR contractors? And are there any other thoughts of ventures like that?
Oh, every day. We talked a little bit about the Petri dishes that we can create out of a good idea and a little business case. So the history of Comfort Owl started with Emmis. It started with Victor Hyman, and we identified that the Leviathans in the business, the Enercares and the Direct Energies that were incredible marketing budgets, recognized the value of owning the basement and creating revenue streams and having people pay $15,000 for an $800 water heater. But the reason it was possible is because people like assurances that things are going to work. They like low monthly payments instead of upfront investment. And if it's marketed to them, they're going to accept it. I mean, we finance everything in the world. I mean, you can get everything for 4 easy payments, a steak dinner.
Yes.
Everybody buy now, pay later is just a fact.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do is create a vehicle that would enable our dealers to provide customers and users with the same easy payment schedule that the Leviathan, the ex-utility Leviathans were providing, and for that contractors to remain attached to the building and to be able to go back and change other equipment. And at the end of the lease, or at the end of the finance period, or at the end of the rental period, they could go in and potentially replace it with higher efficiency equipment, or service it so that it lasted longer beyond the lease. Leasing is kind of a funny misnomer, because at the end of the lease, it's a $1 buyout.
Right. That's the difference.
It's
because
essentially,
there has been some funny business
Of
previous
course.
in
Yeah.
HVAC financing that it had no end to it.
Man,
But that's brilliant.
there's been some real crooked business in
Yeah.
there. There's been, trapping people with door-to-door sales and selling vulnerable people product that they don't need.
Right.
And then compounding that burden by putting a significant nosy, a security on the house, so that should that person ever want to get out of the arrangement, it was impossible,
Right.
and
right.
very expensive. And Joanna has built a very customer focused and fair program that allows people to finance this without the burden of those things. And we don't ever want to sell somebody something they don't need,
Right.
but we want them to be able to buy things that maybe they can't afford today.
Exactly.
If it's what's best for them and the life cycle of the equipment. So, that's a great example. Now, the transition from Victor to Joanna was a complicated time, and Joanna's addition to that, we use third parties to build MS.
Sure.
And the ironic component of that is some of those financing contracts got sold to the Leviathans. And what we realized, we didn't have any security to keep our contractors safe and their customers safe from this if we use third parties. So we partnered with Abode Financial and became the funder, so that we hold the paper, and we're never going to sell the paper to Reliance or Enbridge or anybody else. So that was Joanna's. This is a young lady who graduated from mechanical engineering, had no background in finance, but has a super processor brain and an incredible personality, tons of ambition, and works incredibly hard. That just found a way to build a finance company and to secure funding from our parents, to build out, this company. And we talked this morning a little bit about Dev's journey and creating InnTech.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit earlier about Applied. I mean, we're all about good ideas, and we're all about finding places that people have passion. And you can run out of passion in some areas, and maybe you need to move to another department, or maybe you need to move to another PC, or maybe another division. But we'll always try our best to keep those smart, work hard, ambitious, nice. We won't hold them back,
Right.
But we'll always try to find a way to help an individual build a career.
And I just want to define with Comfort Owl, because our audience is all over North America. Comfort Owl is Canadian.
For now.
But
yeah, it's something that we it's something that culturally was more Canadian because our utilities always rented us equipment, and it was something that was maybe more acceptable.
Right.
But I don't think anybody spends $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 on a mechanical system and has $20,000 laying in their pocket that they didn't have another use for. Right. So when people do these renovations, they're always borrowing money to do it, whether it's from their line of credit, or they're borrowing it from their investment fund, or whether they're borrowing it from their mom and dad or the bank, or, I really think it's important that we create easy access to capital and to facilitate that investment so that it's painless.
No question. And, another angle on it with financing, Bruce, is I say to contractors who attend our training sessions that if you're not offering financing today, you're losing business. There's just no question about it. When I was still contracting, financing was just coming into play, and it was being driven by the utilities, which I was never comfortable with, them holding the note, so to speak, the utility. I felt that was a super conflict. But again, the financing with Comfort Owl, the contractor literally has skin in the game. They benefit
absolutely
from the premium, from the interest, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They definitely, it's an annuity policy.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's our dealer and contractor partners are absolutely great mechanics typically, and they invest in training and development trainers like you. And they're technically savvy. They understand the equipment. They can troubleshoot. We talked today about an auto restoration company that was run by a gentleman that was blind.
Yeah.
So these guys are just so tactile and so incredibly gifted in the mechanics of what they do. A lot of them aren't great business people, and they will admit it.
Right.
And finance involves an additional layer of administration. And I think that's the kind of non-starter. Some of these guys don't send out bills for 3 or 4 weeks after a job.
No question.
Not to talk about facilitating it through financing, where they would get paid the next day, by the way.
Right.
But one of the beautiful things about EMCO and Comfortal and the profit centers, there's always somebody there, right there, to help you through it.
Right.
And we've got desks that you can park at our PCs where you can sit in and say, can somebody help me with this administration, or send your administrator in? It's not that arduous. It's not that complicated. Do it two or three times and it really becomes relatively easy. But that, therein lies one of the things about EMCO and the decentralized environment. We're there to help you. We don't grow unless you grow. So
brilliant.
It's it's an important thing. And it's financing today, and it's new refrigerant tomorrow, and it'll be other new technologies in the future. If you're not learning and you're not adapting to a market and you're not growing, you're going to end up working for somebody.
Yeah, no question. No question. Hey, Bruce, changing gears a little bit. So BATHICA and EMCO cooperatively, we sponsored a race car last year with our friend Gerry Klutt as the driver. That was the WeatherTech 200 at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. And I know prior to that, EMCO has sponsored some lower level racing, dirt racing up in Canada and what have you. How do activities like this bring a higher awareness to EMCO and to the products you sell?
Well, it's
you're wearing the shirt from the race. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's if you think of if we were in a different market, we might have other vehicles to get to the core interests of our customers. But when you're a mechanically inclined person, you have to be in our industry.
Yeah.
You tend to be a gearhead, and
No doubt.
if you're not a snowmobiler, you're a motorcyclist. If you're not a motorcyclist, you're a classic car guy, or I don't know anybody in our industry that doesn't have some interest in speed and recreational motors and ripping around. So I think the challenge on a larger scale for EMCO is those investments are made locally through profit centers, so there isn't as much dough to throw at a national program. BATHICA was a great aggregator, and as soon as you mentioned, I'm in.
Yeah.
Made sense. The business case, we talked about it, but the investment and the collaboration, what a great time and a great event. And one of the most powerful parts of that, the race was awesome. But getting to know Gerry and Peter and the family, and going for a tour of legendary Motorcar and having an event there, and the folks that came from all over the place just to have a look at those cars and the process and the tour of the shop. I mean, what a love affair! What an incredible thing. It's there's a reason why Formula One and NASCAR and IndyCar are able to draw multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals, and it's because it works.
No question. Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Gerry Klutt and his father, Peter Klutt. I just want to mention, if you're interested in a sponsorship situation, give me a call. I'll get you in contact with Gerry. He runs the NASCAR Pinty Series in Canada, but also has raced trucks in the U.S. with the Craftsman Truck Series. So there are sponsorship opportunities available.
Raced classic Ford GTs at
Monte
Carlo.
Yeah.
Oh, Le Mans.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there ain't nothing bigger than that.
No, that's unbelievable.
Very, very cool stuff. And just going down that same avenue, Hajoca in Richmond, Virginia, is sponsoring a young man, Logan Clark,
Okay.
in the Cars series. And a lot of us gearheads know the Cars series because it's a series owned by Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Mhm.
which they often race in as well. So it's more of a grassroots type racing, what they call late model modified, but it's a beautiful car with the mainline branding on it. And
Awesome.
yeah, really, really cool stuff on a local level as well.
Yeah, I think we'll continue to pursue sort of some of those adventures as we go along. And I don't think there's a better organization than LMC and the Klutt family.
No question.
To partner with.
No question. So Bruce, we've talked about your EMCO teammates. I'm getting it right, which in many cases, if not all cases, I think you, like me, we consider them family. Certainly my teammates within Bathica, I feel that way. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your blood family. Tell me a little bit about the Passmore family tree.
This is a rigged question. You got to meet my mom and dad at the cottage. We had a nice barbecue there with them. But yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. I've got an absolutely awesome family. My mom and dad are active and only 30 minutes away. They live at Conestoga Lake, and in the winters they're down villages of Ocala. And so I'm very fortunate. I get to see them weekly. I have a home office actually at the cottage that so I'll go and work from 8 till noon, and my mom will fix me lunch. Nothing. She shows her love with food. It's a wonderful thing. And then I've got a wonderful sister and her family. I have a niece and nephew who are pretty awesome. My nephew is one of those recruits into the EMCO fold, Davey Deans.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And I have a wonderful wife, Christina, and 2 wonderful sons and 2 fantastic daughters. My sons are still high school aged. My daughters have graduated from university and gone on to have careers, and don't call dad for cash too much.
All right. That's success.
Yeah. They don't call for advice as much as I'd like occasionally, but no, they make good decisions. They're great girls. And so that's sort of the immediate team. Passmore, my dad's from a large family, and I've got lots of cousins and uncles and aunts, and it's pretty wonderful. We had a 160th birthday party. My mom and dad both turned 80 this year. So we had a big birthday party this summer, actually this weekend. And the Passmore family gets together and curses at each other over cards and bocce ball and Newfie horseshoes, and very competitive group of people. But
very cool.
But in true Passmore form, the party ended at about 7 o'clock because everybody had to be at home and in bed by 9.
And yes, I have met your parents. I've been to your cottage, as you call it, which is lakefront. And tell me what lake that is.
Oh, it's on Conestoga Lake. It's a lake about 30 minutes north of Kitchener-Waterloo, and it's man, what a community! You talk about technology and community. I'm on this road 9 West, and there's probably, I'm going to say 40 cottages on it, 30. 40. And we've just through technology, everybody's on a chat group, and through, you talked about the social aspects of going for a walk and meeting all of your neighbors.
Yeah, right.
Man, what a great place to be. It's just it's probably more home than home, because when I get there, I'm surrounded by lots of people that love me and I love, and it's just beautiful. That's what life's all about.
That is what life is all about, for sure. Look, Bruce, I know you, I think, fairly well, I could say, and I know some of your passions, one of them being mountain biking. We have a mutual friend, Jeremy Tora, who I know you do that with from time to time. And Jeremy will send me these, I guess he has a GoPro on his helmet from time to time, and it scares the heck out of me what you guys do on a bicycle. But you're also into motorcycles. In fact, that's what got you physically here today, is a beautiful Harley Davidson that you rode here. But tell me something I don't know about you as far as passions. Is there what else turns you on?
Man, what turns me on? I kind of think that I'm the ultimate amateur in so many different fields. we talked about music and guitars. I'm probably the worst guitarist that has 40 years experience of anybody that you've ever met.
No, that's me. But
Yeah.
we're similar that way.
But there's some magic to playing guitar and playing with your friends, and when you make the notes sort of come together, it's a really soul satisfying thing. I love to travel and see new cultures. I've been to Asia, I've been to Africa, I've been to Europe, I've been to Central America. South America's still on the thing. I've been all over North America. I really feel that getting to the edge of your comfort zone is a really important thing, whether that's the speed of mountain biking, do it slowly so you don't kill yourself, or whether that's going to a culture that's totally foreign to you and being warned by paranoid people that you shouldn't go there because,
right.
Bad things could happen. And even traveling through North America, I mean, we all make assumptions about each other, and
Yeah, for sure.
And it's unfortunate. I really think getting to the edge of that discomfort and having an open mind to learn something new is really that's the adventure, the risk that you take of surrendering your own preconceived notions and sort of figuring something out. And I think that's great advice career wise, and I think it's great advice personally. But shut up and listen a little bit and take that chance, So whether we've got a great group of friends that are part of a brewery that my Schooner Street Brewing Company. There's a little plug for the boys.
Nice.
That's been a real adventure to watch them grow that business and create a really nice culture. I love to read. I'm not much of a TV or movie buff. I can't sit still for 30 minutes. I really like audiobooks because I'm allowed to walk around and listen to them as I go or travel in my car. And I would say, I got the perfect job. I got that variety of changing dynamics and changing situations all the time. And I've got great clusters of people that I really respect and love all over Canada and even into North America. So, I get to suspend disbelief and walk into new situations and see if I can contribute.
Well, I feel the same way about my job. As you know, I'm on the road about 36 weeks out of the year. And when I say that to people, sometimes they'll be shocked. Like, how could you do that? Why would you do that? But for me, the turn on is meeting new people week to week, different parts of the world, different parts of North America. And making friends, quite frankly. I now can honestly say I have friends all over the world.
Yep.
And that's really special. Travel sometimes is a pain in the ass. I mean, there's no question about that. Post 9/11 travel is very difficult.
Let's talk about all the great meals we've had in airports.
Right. Airport sushi. Right? They talk about gas station sushi. I'm an expert at airport sushi. But to me, the turn on in our jobs is so much of it is exchanging ideas, meeting new people, seeing different places. It's a beautiful advantage of our job.
Yeah, I thought Travis, when you were talking to your cousin Travis Stever there, I thought he came up with it best. And as much as there's the anxiety of the performance and the things leading up to it, and he talked about fear, and you and I talked about anxiety. But I think knowing the rush at the end of it and the impact that you've had, he has an impact on a giant audience as a rock star.
Right.
And you and I might have the impact on a smaller group but you're changing lives. You're helping them discover something new, a new opportunity for success. You're helping them live into their dreams, right? You're maybe facilitating them buying their next, whatever it is, or going or celebrating. So I think we're addicted to that buzz.
There's no question. I had a milestone in my training career recently, and that was 10,000 plus trained over 10.
And that's not virtually. That's face to face.
10,000. That was a goal of mine. I wanted to get to that number. Now I've exceeded it, quite frankly. And look, Bruce. In all honesty, I'm a realist. It may just be a handful of people whose lives I've really changed, but that handful is enough. You know what I mean? Just to think that I've had an impact on, I think of one young man in North Carolina that when I was with Gree in the U.S. with Watsco, He really credits me with really getting him into the trade, and I'm thrilled about that. To me, that it's all worth it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one.
You know what? I think it's natural to be humble and not give yourself enough credit, but I mean, what you've taught beyond just the technical aspects of the product and the installation methodology and servicing and all those things. I think the way you come across to an audience and what you give them in your own openness and having faced your own challenges and the hug waiver, and people leave your rooms with a more open mind, I think. And you know, we talk about surrendering a little bit and living on the edge of discomfort. Like, I think that, you know, we talked about it a bit about PCs too, giving people the confidence to make that move and to do those things. I think you've impacted 10,000 people and in an echo effect, probably 100,000 people, certainly everybody at EMCO HVAC.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. But I am reminded of it, and I need to be reminded of it from time to time, that I am a very fortunate person in that regard. But it is the people we surround ourselves. We keep on coming back to that, don't we? You and I, especially, whether it be in this conversation or other conversations, we always seem to come back to, it's the people we have surrounded ourselves with. And for my life, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah. You, sometimes we win, sometimes we learn, but it's really, man, and even some of the jerks that we've run into, you can learn.
We've learned from,
you can learn,
for better or for worse. Yeah.
But man, what a rush to. There's no greater rush than watching other people succeed.
Oh, no question.
And change and evolve and find joy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Hey, look, you know, you mentioned very briefly that you're a guitar player. I am as well. I think I give myself a compliment by saying I'm a guitar player. I'm a guitar hack. I took 7 or 8 years of lessons. I have no natural talent, and I understood that. And we talked about this morning off camera, that I equate it. I'm not a golfer. I've given it a couple of tries over the years, but I have a lot of friends who golf, and I see their frustration with golfing. And I think playing guitar is similar, where every once in a while with golf, you hit one straight and you hit one far, and it makes up for everything that went left or right.
Yeah.
And with guitars, every once in a while you hit that chord just right, and it makes up for all the times you didn't.
Right.
But tell us how involved you are with guitar. What got you into it? What guitars do you have?
Oh, jeepers. I mean, in high school, I played with a group of buddies that cover tunes. And it was funny this weekend at the family party. My young cousin Ken, who's a sergeant in the Canadian Armed Forces, thanks for your service.
Yes.
He was telling my kids that he thought I was a rock star in high school. I was probably 16 and he was probably 11. But the fact that I was with a group of guys that could get through 3 or 4 songs, he was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
And man, we were bad. We were bad. And the guitar player had some talent, Billy O'Keefe. But and then into university, I played with a group of guys. I mean, I'm the weakest link of every one of those. But so yeah, I've always had music in my life. I took piano lessons, and when I sort of flunked out of the Royal Conservatory of Music, my mom found a great sort of jazz improvisational pianist that would give me lessons, Mr. Gauthier. I used to love going to Mr. Gauthier's house because, you know, the expectation wasn't that I practiced 18 hours over the course of the week. It's that I tried and I had a great time, and there was a joy to that music, right? And I had great music teachers, Ken Newman, Ross Beatty, Senior Public School, who made every kid in that room love music. Like I think music is one of those glues that holds us all together.
No
Like
question.
It's just so much joy. And I don't play it well. I listen to lots of it. And like golf, I don't think anybody would play golf if you went off the tee by yourself and you played 18 holes every time.
Right.
So if you're an aspiring musician, get around a campfire with a couple of flat tops and a couple of friends, and you play a 3-chord song, and just when you can create a little bit of harmony, or you can amplify a melody with multiple instruments, man, does it feel like a hole in one or what? It's just a beautiful thing.
No question. No question. Hey, going back to, or staying with music as our subject, you and I are big Coheed and Cambria fans. Of course, Travis Stever, the lead guitar player for Coheed and Cambria, was our guest on Bathica Banter just last month. You and I have seen CNC in concert along with your nephew, which was great. And Travis gave us literally rock star access.
Oh my God.
What a great night that was. It was fantastic. But I wonder, what other bands are you passionate about?
You know, we're in the classic rock age demographic, right?
Yeah.
So it's so funny to think of all of the music out there. I very much go through phases, probably weekly or bi-weekly, where I'm an incredible metalhead, or I'm really into prog, or hey, let's listen to some country, I'm feeling a little bit mellow, or, you know, there's so many different great groups out there. And man, I miss album rock, where you would sit down and listen to a whole album. You know, that would be your entertainment for the evening with a couple of friends. You'd sit around, and it wouldn't even be that much dialogue, because you'd all be consuming a 60-minute album. But at the same time, I really enjoy, you know, some of the Sirius XM stations that kind of surprise you with a song that you missed hearing. And even some of I was showing you Spotify this morning, and the AI DJ that they have. It's amazing, where they reach around your collection and your frequency of listening, and they pop a song that you were thinking, wow, I haven't heard that in a while. But it's when we talk about bands, I mean, I grew up in the Canadian era of the Tragically Hip, and the Bare Naked Ladies, and the Odds, and the Rheostatics, and the Weaker Thans, and there was a bunch of great, Max Webster, and Kim Mitchell was a solo touring act, and Coney Hatch and Andy Curry. And I mean, that was hair metal. So Kick-Axe was out there. And I mean, Canada has exported some amazing talent, like Triumph. I mean, Triumph was the Van Halen of Canada.
Yes.
Rick Emmett is, you know, check out Rick Emmett's stuff. It's unbelievable. His solo stuff and his stuff with Triumph.
Yes. Yeah.
I watched the US Festival. Triumph concert.
They killed at the US Festival.
His solo was off the chart.
Yeah.
But like it's funny to experience music wherever you are. I mean, Canadians are big in their local music, and you get into different parts of the world and you listen to their music. I was in Morocco this year, and my guide and then friend was part of the Berber culture. And so, man, I was listening to Berber music the entire time that I was in Africa, and it really sort of cemented that time in my life.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about this, that you don't remember what year it was, but you remember what song you were listening to.
No question. Yeah. You know, you kind of led me in beautifully into my next question, and that is specifically Canadian music. Because I travel so much in Canada, my business is really concentrated up there for the most part. I get turned on to Canadian music that does not get played here in the States, Bruce, and it annoys me, quite frankly, that Canadian music has really, other than the obvious, the Guess Who, BTO, Rush, of course, and other, Bryan Adams, but you could really count on one hand, maybe two, Canadian bands that have made it quote unquote big in the US, but there's so many. You mentioned one like Coney Hatch, Monkey Bars, right? Yeah. I tell you,
Backs of Cars.
Right? That should be everyone's homework assignment who watches this. You know, YouTube, you're watching this on YouTube. When you're done with this program, listen or plug in Coney Hatch Monkey Bars. It's a blast.
It is a blast.
And you know me, I go down rabbit holes
Oh,
with
yeah.
things. So I was like, who is Coney Hatch? What is Coney Hatch?
Andy Curran.
Yeah. But do you know what Coney Hatch, the name where it came from?
No,
An insane asylum.
really.
Somewhere in Ontario.
Oh,
It was named Coney Hatch. Yeah.
amazing.
But I could go on and on. Doug and the Slugs,
Greg Godovich.
right?
Gatto.
Tomcat Prowl.
Yeah.
How is that not a hit everywhere?
Yeah.
You know, and I
Tom
could,
Cochran, Red Rider.
well, and Tom, he should have been on my list of guys who did get some recognition here with Red Rider, and also as a solo artist, Life is a Highway.
Right.
And he's done. I just recently saw him do some work with Springsteen, which was really, really cool. But
I have a funny Tom Cochran story for you.
go for it.
So we were on a snowmobile trip in Northern Ontario. I was born and raised in Northern Ontario. Speaking of musical chanteuses, Shania Twain is from my hometown.
Ah, yeah.
Anyway, we were at the end of the day. We had a mechanical problem. We checked into a hotel. We didn't have any bags. We moved the snowmobiles to a shop to get fixed. And so I was standing in a bar in the middle of nowhere in my long johns, in my underwear, playing pool and consuming a few beers. And in walks Tom Cochran.
Wow.
He was in town to play an acoustic set in Kirkland Lake. And so my brother-in-law and some friends and my dad and I are all standing around in our underwear because all of our clothes are soaking wet from snowmobiling. And Tom Cochran walks in and my brother-in-law says, "Hey, you're Tom Cochran." And he goes, "Hey, you guys are all in your underwear." So we spent the night having a few beers. And the funny part, Tom's a little bit older than I'm in my 50s, and Tom will be close to on 70, I bet. He had more in common with my dad than the rest of us. So my dad and he sat at a table and talked about airplanes and 50s rock, and the rest of us continued our underwear party.
Very, very cool. You know, you mentioned the first band you mentioned, the Tragically Hip. I don't want to move off of this until we talk a little bit about the Tragically Hip. I got turned on to them because of my travel in Canada. I would not have heard of them otherwise, quite frankly. I'm very unfortunate, but what an incredible catalog of music. I am fortunate, Patricia and I are both fortunate to say that we saw them live in New York City at the Beacon Theater.
Wow.
Which was just an incredible show. But very much, I think when most people look beyond the Rush and the BTOs and the Guess Who's, the Tragically Hip is so Canadian.
Yeah.
And I say that with the greatest respect. They are really icons, to the point when help me again with the lead singer.
Gord Downie.
When Gord Downie passed, unfortunately, Mr. Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, literally wept on national television.
Yeah. Speaking
of him, that's the impact that he had on.
Well, I mean, their last concert, Gord was diagnosed with a brain cancer and was given a limited lifetime. And his first inclination was a goodbye tour.
Yeah.
I mean, the cancer was so bad, he had trouble. He had a teleprompter with the words because he couldn't remember them anymore.
Yeah.
But he went all over Canada, and I was fortunate with Victor Hyman and Roy. We went to see them in Hamilton, and then my family and I traveled out to, it was a HREI conference in Calgary, and we ended up in Banff. My family and I in a little log cabin with a 13-inch black and white TV, and on CBC we watched their last concert. It was in Kingston, Ontario, and you'll be able to find it on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely! It was on pay-per-view here in the States.
Yeah, well, so Trudeau was at that concert, and there was actually a dialogue between Gord and it was probably more of a monologue because Gord was telling Justin what he wanted done, when he wasn't around to hold him accountable.
Right.
But man, what a remarkable. I mean, you've experienced so much of Canada that we're also proud of. Canadians all have little brother syndrome. We're 1/10 the size and population of the United States and 1/10 of the economy. And so anytime we do anything good, it's like, look at us.
Yes.
Look, I told you we could.
Well, rightfully
but
so.
You've experienced the Tragically Hip, and you've experienced Terry Fox, and
Yes.
you've experienced some of our great cities, Vancouver and Edmonton and Calgary and Toronto and Montreal and Quebec City and Halifax and St. John's, Newfoundland. I left off a whole bunch, Ottawa, but my goodness gracious, I mean, we have a lot to be proud of. And at the same time, I think we have to be careful about being too full of ourselves. It's easy to get the little man syndrome and sort of think that what you're doing is better or different, or that, you gotta keep looking out and learning and being open-minded.
Well, yeah, that last statement that you made brings me back to an encounter I had at an automobile museum up in Canada. I can't recall exactly where I was, but I met this older couple, and we were kind of taking the tour together. And when they learned I was from the States, the gentleman got very, I don't know if I'd say it was defensive, maybe offensive about Canada, telling me how wonderful Canada was and how not so wonderful the US was. And, a lot of people I think might have been offended, but I wasn't. I certainly, you should be that way. You should be proud. Absolutely. There's so much to be proud of. So I took it in stride, and I wanted to hear his point of view. I found it really interesting, for sure.
Well, and every Canadian has that same story about traveling in the United States. And when you get found out that you're Canadian, the conversations vary from admiration to, oh my God, I can't believe you live in a communist state. Like, how can you stand to be there?
Yeah. Well, and you brought up Terry Fox and Tom Cochran. So I just recently saw, I think it was an Instagram feed, where it was Tom Cochran talking about very early on in his career was contemplating giving it up.
Yeah, he left Winnipeg without a dime in his pocket.
Yeah.
And they were traveling back to Ontario and crested the lakehead. And Terry was coming through Thunder Bay. And that was the end of Terry's run.
Right. And I learned about Terry Fox from being in Thunder Bay at one of your PCs. But it was just that inspired Tom to say, you know what, if this guy can do what he's doing with one leg.
21 years old.
Yeah.
One leg. Yeah. And selflessly didn't, there was no gain for him.
Right. Yeah. Another homework assignment for everybody who's not familiar with Terry Fox, and all Canadians are for sure. But here in the U.S., look up Terry Fox, incredibly inspiring story. And I learned only from being in Thunder Bay, where there's a beautiful monument to him.
Yeah.
And it's where he ended his travel, his journey. He was literally
the Marathon of Hope.
Yeah. He was trying to run across the country. He wanted to get $1, if I'm saying this correctly.
100%.
He wanted $1 from every Canadian. That's all he was asking, for cancer research.
Yep.
He knew it wasn't going to affect him. He was well beyond.
Yep.
And unfortunately, he did succumb to it in the Thunder Bay area. He couldn't get any further.
Right. And went home and passed away. Yeah. And subsequently, I think every year since, the Marathon of Hope and the Terry Fox run every year, his legacies that he's raised hundreds of millions of dollars for cancer research. And we have a couple of teammates that are very active in that process. Andrew Porteous and the Porteous family are very active in the Terry Fox run. And that, as are probably countless others. He was, I told you when we were talking about him, when you found out about him, that in a poll, CBC poll about the most important Canadians in history, Terry Fox was the second most important. Wayne Gretzky was not the first.
Who was?
It was the father of our universal healthcare.
Okay.
It was, oh my goodness, Kiefer Sutherland's grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Saskatchewan premier. Oh, we'll have to edit it in. But we're very proud of, as much as it's critiqued our universal healthcare program. It isn't perfect, but it's available to everyone in Canada, and it's really remarkable, and a safety net that I think that everybody truly appreciates.
And something we're challenged with here in the States that we're still working to try and find a solution to. But it's a difficult problem for sure.
And it's not free.
No,
I think you're aware of all the taxes that we pay.
Because
but it's something that's truly Canadian. I think when you grow up in a harsh climate, you want to be protected a little bit. and you want to protect people as well, because
Sure.
you may need them to protect you at some point.
No doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. Well, Bruce, my friend, we are at the end of our time together. And first of all, I just want to thank you for being so gracious with your time. But I want to give you one last opportunity. I think you've watched previous episodes, and you know that I end every episode with something called Gerry's Pick. And it's just something that I do that has turned me on in the last 30 days, whether it be a book, oftentimes it's a documentary. I love documentaries, or a tool. And oftentimes has nothing to do with HVAC. So what I've been doing recently with BATHICA Banter is offering our guests the same opportunity to share with our audience something that has really kind of blown you away and you want to tell everybody about. What do you got?
Geez, the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris has been something that really reinvigorates my faith in mankind and just everybody's commitment. The amateur athletes there that have invested so much of themselves for so little. There's not many of them make a pile of dough, but from all over the world. I mean, I'm very proud of our Canadian athletes, but it's remarkable, the stories of humanity that come out of that. And they're in this age of the internet and lots of less than critical thinking. There's been some criticism around gender and some of the events, and I think that we're really quick to jump on something and get judgmental. There was more to that. I jumped to a conclusion and really, thought things that I probably shouldn't have thought, and then I learned more about it. And I think it's really important to sort of embrace humanity and sort of appreciate everything and slow down in judging too.
Well, yeah, no doubt. I think we're all guilty of that. Myself, from time to time, as you know, I'm trying to find new tools and create new tools to just try to move some of the negativity out of my mind at certain parts of the day, But that's a good one for sure. Well, look, my friend, something I want to say in front of an audience, I've said privately many times to other people, you're one of the special people. And we could edit this. But where I'm going with it is I tell people I love them. And it's not frivolous. I truly mean that. And one of the first times we met, in fact, it might have been the first time we physically met. It was at the CMPX show in Toronto a couple of years ago. And you saw me coming down an aisle. And from down the aisle, you yelled out to me, "Gerry, I love you." And I'll just never forget that.
Geez, I got to be careful who I yell at.
But it's so you, number one, and it was just what I needed in that moment.
It's so amazing. Love is free, and it's a gift that you can give so easily to somebody, and you don't know whether they need it in the moment or
right.
And it's remarkable. I've watched you do it, the hug waiver and the way you make people feel. And real men don't tell people they love them, and real men don't show pain, and real men, I think it's quite the opposite. I think that real men can love people and can and it's such a gift. And I think it's,
well, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your guidance that you give me through transitions like we're going through with BATHICA right now. You're a great friend. You're a great asset, clearly to EMCO, but to the industry, Bruce. We talk about our places in our industry and in our beautiful trade of ours. And you have established yourself as one of the movers and shakers, but also, I think more important than that, one of the really good people. People want to be in your presence. People want to be in your employ. People want you as a friend because what you offer is so valuable in so many different ways beyond business. Businesses, to me, business goes away, but what lasts is the friendship and the love.
And
You do that.
It's come back 10 times, 20
Well, good.
times.
Well, I love you.
I love you also.
And thanks so much for being so generous with your time today. This is a blast, and I'm so pleased that you were the first in studio
Man,
guest.
what a place. It's
That's so
beautiful.
cool.
It's been such a gift to be here.
Terrific. Well, thanks, Bruce. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you again to Bruce Passmore for just a great conversation, And once again, this is the second episode in a row now where we've almost gone 2 hours, and that is never my intent. I like to try and keep it around 60 minutes. But with Travis Stever, last episode of Coheed and Cambria and Ellis Dunes, and now with Bruce, time flies when you're having fun. And it's just amazing how after the conversation ended, we looked at how much time was spent, and it surprised both of us. But that's a good thing. To me, that's a good sign of a good conversation and hopefully a good episode. I hope you'll agree. Well, thank you again to Bruce for his generosity of time. Hey, look, it's that time of the program for Gerry's Pick of the Month. And I'm going to keep it simple, as I generally do, and also try to keep it on the same subject path that Bruce and I kind of left off on with our conversation, and that is music, and specifically Canadian music. I think I actually gave some homework assignments throughout the episode there for people who may not be familiar with the deeper Canadian rock. And when I say deeper, I'm talking, beyond BTO, beyond the Guess Who, beyond Rush, beyond Triumph, beyond Bryan Adams. Look into Coney Hatch, look into Doug and the Slugs and all the bands that Bruce mentioned. There's some that I have to investigate that I weren't aware of. But also my pick of the month is a documentary. You know how much I love documentaries. I think probably 80% of my picks from month to month, episode to episode are docs. And this will be no different. It's the Triumph Rock and Roll Machine documentary. Fantastic documentary about the wonderful power trio of the band Triumph. Canadian band that did get a lot of attention and a lot of airplay. And a lot of popularity, frankly, especially during the MTV years, early MTV years, and that is Triumph. So check that out for sure. I had the absolute thrill of meeting Gilmore, the drummer for Triumph, and a co-songwriter, and an often lead vocalist as well for the band. He now owns and operates Metalworks Studios up in Mississauga, Ontario, and had the opportunity to meet Gil. Gil invited me into the studio, and it was just one of the thrills of my lifetime. So definitely check out the Triumph Rock and Roll Machine is the documentary. I'm sure on all the different streaming and different pay-per-views that are available nowadays. I caught it on Access TV, which is a cable channel and kind of a classic rock cable channel. So you could probably catch it there as well from time to time. But anyway, looking forward to my next episode. I'm not going to give away who the guest will be because it hasn't been confirmed yet. But I'm excited about it, and keep an eye on my LinkedIn for information about upcoming episodes. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks, guys.